At my family's celebration dinner, my mother lifted her glass and crowned Olivia the provider of this family, while everyone applauded, like it was gospel. No one knew my phone was buzzing with another overdue alert, her debt not mine. I didn't shake. I didn't stutter. I just said, great. Then she can take over the 12,800 I've been covering for her. The room froze. Olivia laughed too fast. Mom turned pale. But what they didn't know was this wasn't the first time my life had been rewritten for her. And it definitely wasn't the last lie I was about to expose, not with the secrets I'd soon uncover. Before I go any further, tell me where you're watching from. And hit like and subscribe if you've ever been betrayed by your own family, because what happened after that dinner didn't just break the night open. It exposed secrets they never expected me to uncover, and I wasn't done speaking. I grew up in a house where love had a spotlight and it never pointed at me. Mom treated every dinner like a small performance, arranging plates and smiles with the same precision. Olivia, 3 years older and effortlessly adored, always played the lead. I learned early that my job was to keep the scene running without ever stepping into it. My earliest memory: a humid summer night, the air thick with pot roast and the hum of the old ceiling fan. Mom spooned extra potatoes onto Olivia's plate, laughing. My star needs her energy. When she glanced at me, she added, Harper's my little helper. She never needs much. I pretended to giggle, but something in me folded small and quiet. I didn't know then that this script would follow me for decades. In middle school, I won first place at the science fair. The gym lights flickered overhead. My poster leaned crooked on the table, but I felt proud. Mom rushed in, breathless, grabbed the medal from my hands and placed it around Olivia's neck. Just for the photo, she said. She photographs better. Dad nodded like it was logical. I stood beside them, smiling for a picture I wasn't really in. Looking back, that was the first time I watched my work shine brighter in someone else's hands. But the wound that never healed happened at 17. I spent months on a research project that earned me an interview invitation from a prestigious university. The letter arrived, gold seal and all. I never saw it. Years later, while searching for batteries in the kitchen, I found it shoved behind a drawer, expired, unopened. Mom's voice echoed behind me. You can't leave Olivia behind, Harper. She wasn't coping well. My future had been folded into a drawer like something inconvenient. I didn't cry. I just placed the letter down and understood for the first time how small I was allowed to be. As adulthood came, that pattern sharpened. Olivia reinvented herself every year, announcing new dreams while Mom cheered. I worked shifts, paid bills, stayed steady. Thank God for your reliability, Mom would say. Reliability. A word that sounds like praise but feels like erasure. And yet, I kept playing my part, not realizing that every tiny cut was shaping the person who would one day refuse to stay in the background. By my 20s, the roles in our family were so fixed they felt carved into bone. Olivia was the dreamer. The chosen one? The girl whose mistakes were growth phases. I was the steady one, the fixer. The daughter who didn't need applause, at least that's what they told themselves every time they handed her my spotlight. During college, I worked late shifts at a diner, the smell of burnt coffee clinging to my clothes no matter how hard I scrubbed. Olivia drifted between majors, always announcing a new direction, always promising big things. One night, after I sent home a little money to help with bills, I overheard Mom whispering on the phone. Olivia's chasing her future. Harper's just holding things together. Just. The word lodged under my ribs like a splinter. Holidays were worse. I still remember one icy Thanksgiving when snow crusted the windows, the fireplace crackling behind us. Mom handed Olivia a glossy gift bag with designer boots inside, rich leather, perfect stitching. You deserve something special, she said. When it was my turn, she gave me a beige office tote. Practical. Perfect for work. Dad nodded approvingly. Olivia strutted around the living room while I tucked the bag under my chair, swallowing the familiar ache. I didn't know it then, but small gifts can carve deep wounds. My adult life looked nothing like Olivia's glittering chaos. My apartment was quiet, uncluttered, filled with things I'd earned myself. On nights when the city hummed softly outside my window, I'd open spreadsheets for work while my phone buzzed with Olivia's problems. At first, it was tiny things. Can you spot me? My card glitched. I'll pay you back. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. At work, Ethan began noticing the strain before I admitted it to myself. He'd glance over when I froze at another alert, his brow creasing with worry. You don't seem okay, he said once gently. I brushed it off, but something in his voice made me feel seen in a way my family never managed. Still, no matter how tired I grew, I kept stepping in, kept smoothing things over, kept padding the consequences Olivia refused to face. I didn't realize I was preparing myself for something bigger, a breaking point that had been building since childhood, waiting for the night when all those quiet scars would finally split open. The first real fracture came on a gray Tuesday morning, the kind where the sky looks like it's been rubbed raw. I was at my desk, tabs open, lost in a spreadsheet, when my phone lit up with Olivia's name. Her breath was frantic, wind rushing behind her. Heart, my bank froze my account. Total glitch. I just need you to cover the minimum this month. Please, I'm stranded. The plea hit fast practiced. Before I could even think, I heard myself ask how much. 300. You're the only one I trust. That line always hooked me, dangling responsibility like a virtue. I paid. It told myself it was temporary, an emergency, a one-time thing. I didn't know it was the first tug on a thread woven through my entire adulthood. 2 weeks later, a late fee alert buzzed under the conference table during a meeting. I silenced it, but Ethan's eyes flicked toward me, reading more than I wanted him to. When I checked afterward, there it was, another overdraft on the card I'd stupidly co-signed for Olivia. I texted her. She replied with 3 heart emojis and, "You're a lifesaver." That was her pattern crisis charm escape. And me, the net she never thanked, just fell into. But things shifted during a barbecue at my parents'. Mason cornered me near the grill, flipping burgers while smoke curled around us. "Hey, Harper, has Olivia borrowed money from you?" My stomach tightened. Not really. He studied me, quiet, knowing. She said she's covering stuff for your parents, but I've seen her Venmo history. And he hesitated, lowering his voice. She got fired from 2 startups over budget issues. Budget issues. A polite way of saying siphoning money. I blinked. She told us it was toxic management. Mason shook his head slowly. Just be careful. The backyard noise, laughter, clinking glasses blurred into a dull hum. Something in his tone cracked open a truth I'd avoided. Olivia wasn't just irresponsible. She was reckless in ways that left other people bleeding. Still, when I tried to bring it up gently to Mom, she snapped the conversation back into place like a snapped rubber band. "Don't judge her," she said. "You know how fragile Olivia is. You're the strong one. She depends on that. Strong." Another label wrapped in chains. Dad stayed silent, staring at the floor as if answers were hidden between the tiles. The next blow came quietly. Late one night, my phone pinged again, another minimum due, more than I spent on groceries. I sat at my kitchen table, watching the numbers stack like accusations. I paid it, but something in me soured the taste, metallic like resentment. The following morning, my phone buzzed so loudly in a meeting that everyone turned. Afterward, Ethan walked beside me down the hall. "You're shaken," he murmured. "I'm fine." His voice softened. "No, you're unraveling." I wanted to deny it, but the truth was already tightening in my chest. Threads were snapping one by one. The worst snap was still coming, and it would make everything before it feel small. The unraveling hit its sharpest edge on a night that should have been insignificant. I was sitting in my apartment, half-dressed for bed, when I finally forced myself to pull my full credit report. I don't know what I expected, maybe another missed payment Olivia hadn't mentioned, another fee I'd end up covering. But when the page loaded, everything inside me went still. A loan sat at the top of the report. Bridge loan, $48,000. Opened 8 months earlier. Primary Harper Lane, secondary contact, Olivia Lane. My chest tightened. The room seemed to tilt. I clicked through documents with shaking hands, electronic signatures, verification emails, confirmations stamped at times when I was at work, asleep, anywhere but signing fraudulent debt. Olivia hadn't just borrowed money, she'd borrowed my identity. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I just stared at the screen until my reflection blurred in the glass, whispering the same sentence over and over. She wouldn't. She couldn't. But she had. And deep down, I'd always known she was capable of more than just chaos. Chaos was her charm. This was calculation. The next morning was a blur. I wore the wrong shoes, spilled coffee on my coat, and still got to work early because I couldn't sit in my apartment any longer. Ethan spotted me at the elevator, eyes widening at the sight of my pale face. "You're not okay." "I'm fine." "You're lying." The certainty in his voice startled me more than the debt. I opened my mouth to tell him everything but swallowed the words. I wasn't ready to say it out loud because saying it made it real. Then came Mom's text later that afternoon. Dinner Thursday. Formal. Olivia has big news. Wear something flattering. Flattering. As if my only role was to look supportive enough to decorate the background. By the time Thursday arrived, resentment had settled in my ribs like a second spine. My parents' house smelled of rosemary chicken and the citrus candle Mom used for important nights. Olivia floated through the living room in a new dress, silk expensive, probably paid for with my credit. She hugged me lightly, batting her lashes. "Hey, Harp. Try not to look so stressed tonight, okay?" The sweetness was venom. Pure, practiced venom. The table filled quickly, Aunt Maggie gossiping, Uncle Ron laughing too loudly. Mason quiet in the corner watching Olivia like he was finally connecting dots he'd avoided. I felt his eyes on me, too soft with concern, guilt, something heavier. Dinner began the same way it always did, polite lies, scripted compliments, the golden daughter glowing beneath Mom's shining praise. But under the table my phone buzzed again, another alert tied to Olivia's mess. I didn't look this time. I didn't need to. I already knew the shape of the hole she was digging with my name. And somewhere between Mom's toast and Olivia's smug smile, a calm washed over me. Not relief, not forgiveness, but the kind of stillness that comes right before a storm breaks its final barrier. I realized with absolute clarity that this dinner wasn't a celebration. It was a stage. And I was about to stop playing the role they wrote for me, because the truth wasn't just knocking anymore, it was breaking down the door. The moment I sat down at the dinner table, I knew the night was already tipping toward disaster. The chandelier cast a golden glow across the polished silverware, turning everything a little too bright, a little too fragile, like one wrong move could shatter the whole room. Olivia basked in it, chin-lifted smile rehearsed. Mom kept fussing with candles, smoothing napkins, making sure the scene looked perfect. Dad cleared his throat, the universal signal that the script was about to begin. "I want a toast," he said, lifting his glass. "To Olivia, our provider, our anchor, the one who keeps this family together." The words drifted across the room like smoke, and everyone breathed them in. Aunt Maggie clinked her glass against Uncle Ron's. Mason looked down, jaw tightening. My phone buzzed under the linen napkin, another alert on the fraud account Olivia opened in my name. The vibration crawled up my wrist, steady and cold. Olivia leaned toward me with a concerned pout. "Harp, you okay? You look overwhelmed." There it was, overwhelmed, her favorite knife disguised as compassion. I set my glass down, the tap of the crystal sharp enough to slice the moment open. "Actually," I said, my voice, "even this is perfect timing." The table quieted. Even the chandelier seemed to dim. "If Olivia's the provider," I continued, "then she can take over the $12,800 I've been paying for her." Forks froze midair. Aunt Maggie's breath hitched. Uncle Ron muttered something and stopped halfway. Mason's eyes lifted wide and haunted. Olivia blinked as if I'd spoken another language. Harper, Mom whispered, her smile cracking. Not tonight. But I had already reached into my coat. The envelope felt warm from my hand, 7 months of debt stress and silence simmering under the paper. I placed it in the center of the table. "These are the statements," I said. "Every payment I've made, every late fee, every charge," she ran up. Dad's voice hardened. "You should have handled this privately." "I tried," I replied, "twice. You told me not to embarrass the family." Olivia gave a small, nervous laugh. "You're exaggerating. God, Harper, don't be dramatic." Something inside me snapped into perfect clarity. "I'm not being dramatic," I said quietly. "I'm being accurate." Her smile faltered just a flicker, but enough to expose the cracks she'd painted over. Mom stood abruptly, hands trembling. "We'll discuss this later. Sit down, Harper." "No," I said, rising. The chair scraped the hardwood, sharp as a breaking bone. "I'm done having later conversations that protect her at my expense." Olivia opened her mouth, but no words came out. Mason watched her like he was seeing her for the first time. I turned toward the hallway, boots tapping like a countdown. At the end, a framed family portrait hung, Olivia in the center, my parents glowing at her sides, me tucked on the edge like an afterthought. My reflection appeared faintly in the glass. For the first time, I didn't look small. I looked unmistakably, irrevocably done. I walked out the front door without a single person calling my name. 4 days later, my parents asked me to come back. Same dining room, same candles, same forced calm. But the air felt heavier now, like everyone knew the script had finally cracked. Dad sat at the head of the table, with a check already waiting. 12,800, he said. We'll settle this quietly. Settle. Meaning, shut up. Mom folded her arms. You humiliated your sister. We need to restore peace. Peace. Meaning pretend nothing happened. Olivia stood near the window, mascara smudged voice small, but sharp. You didn't have to blow up dinner, Harper. You should have called. I met her eyes. I did. Twice. Before she could argue, I pulled a thin stack of paper from my bag, my credit report. The page with the $48,000 bridge loan landed on the table like a verdict. Explain this, I said. Mom gasped. Dad blinked hard. Olivia froze. Then the front door opened. Mason stepped inside holding a small USB drive. He didn't look at Olivia. She left this at my place. He said, You'll want to see it. Olivia shook her head. Mason, don't. But he set it down next to the report. Bridgeloans.xlus, dozens of names, dozens of amounts. Mine was only one of many. Silence wrapped the room tight. Dad pushed the check toward me again, almost desperate. Take it. Let's fix this. I slid it back. This isn't about money. It's about accountability. Mom's voice cracked. You're tearing this family apart. No, I said. I'm just refusing to hold it together. I stood. No one reached for me. No one spoke. Not even Olivia. Back home, I opened my laptop and gathered every screenshot, every alert, every document facts they couldn't twist, rewrite, or bury. I created a new folder and labeled it the Golden Sister. Not to hurt them, and not to start a war, but to finally end the one they'd been fighting against me for years. They thought they could silence me with a check. They didn't realize I finally had my weapon, the truth. If you've ever been the outsider in your own family, hit subscribe. Because what happened to me isn't rare. People just don't talk about it. And this story isn't finished. Once I uncovered the truth, everything that came after forced my family to face the version of me they never expected, the one who finally stopped staying quiet. So stay with me. There's more to reveal, more consequences they never saw coming, and more choices I had to make once the lies collapsed. If you've ever had to choose yourself for the first time, you'll want to hear the rest.